Looking good, YouTube. My name's Love Game, or PD1 Piranha if you prefer, and welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls. It's been a while. My guest is back here with me. Why don't you
Yeah,
tell
man,
the crowd
I'm the
about?
genius at work. Please ignore the fact that I intentionally spelled my name. There's a long story behind that, but I guarantee you there's a master plan behind that and a plan behind that plan. So please, ignore all that.
That'll all come into fruition by the time I play Dark Souls 3, so if you just set through all 3 games, you'll get to experience that great twist in all its glory.
For those of you thinking, oh man, that's just too long, don't worry, I agree with you. I ain't gonna be there for Dark Souls 3. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, he would like experience the rage even though he wasn't the one playing it. So here we are going down to Demon Ruins. We've been here once before to fight the Ceaseless Discharge, but now we're going in for real because all this lava, or well, I'll say all of it, most of it is dried up. And ladies and gentlemen, your eyes do not deceive you. Those are all Taurus demons down there. The first boss we fought in the game, well, there is a grand total of 7. All waiting to give us a piece of their mind.
Yeah, the one area of the game that nobody talks about because
It
it's the one
sucks. This area is very good to have Black Knight weapons, like my sword here, because they all have an inherent damage bonus against any demon-type enemy, so... including the bosses, too, so...
My problem with like the Taurus demon, both the bosses, just like the enemies, like they use to like as a placeholder for the enemies, is that it has basically Monster Hunter physics, and where very few enemies in the Dark Souls game don't have that. And what I mean by that is that in the Monster Hunter games, especially in the original ones, if they move slightly or if they just turn around, if you're around their legs or something, if you're like the hitbox interact with them in any way, you receive a little bit of damage and a little bit of knockback. And that applies to the Taurus demons.
Look at all that fucking... You can't hit through my shield anymore, but he can drain almost my entire... or, well, pretty much my entire stamina right there, so...
Well, he did that overhead attack, so
yeah, that's the toughest one right there. But he dies in 2 hits now, so these guys are pretty much just basic enemies now. The guys that once gave us... well, didn't give me trouble, but I know a lot of you guys did have trouble with them back in the day. And no disrespect there, I'm just... you know... even though I kind of like say that I'm good at this game, you gotta realize I did play through Dark Souls 2 first, so some of my skill kind of transferred over. If I had played this game first with no other experience in the series, I'm sure I would have had a lot of trouble that you guys did have that played 1 first, so it's understandable. I'm not knocking on you.
By the way, if you're tired of placeholder enemies, well, get used to it, because
Yeah.
this game, oh boy, there's a lot. I'll say this for this area. It's one of the areas that a lot of people don't talk about, and quite frankly, it's one of the reasons I honestly don't like this game, because one of the biggest problems I have with the game is it's unfinished, and it's this area.
Yeah, this is pretty much one of the worst, if not the worst area in the entire game, so it's kind of, we're just going to get it done now.
I will say, though, like, this area does have a lot of promise. I'm actually kind of sad it wasn't finished on time.
Yeah, it's something else. We have, as you can see, kind of some pretty bland-looking architecture for the most part. Not a whole lot of inspired. Oh shit! Oh shit! Rode a little too far there. Got some worms coming out here. Thankfully, we do have the trusty lightning spear. Doesn't do a whole lot, but it does about 1/3 of their health. So my friend here had a question for me. What was that about Dark Souls earlier that you wanted to ask? Perhaps for the viewers as well.
First things first, maybe, is you want to check out a little Easter egg, or maybe just a little sneak preview of the boss that's upcoming in the next area. That's actually, you can see from this.
You can, he's very right there. Let me get the right... yeah, here it is. Get a nice view of something to come later
Unfortunately, unlike in most bosses where you can usually interact with them, or in some cases you can just like outright cheat just by damaging them from outside the level.
You can't interact with him whatsoever, even with magic or shit like mine. He doesn't do any damage.
So considering like what you can do that with some of the bosses and other in this game, is a little disappointing that you can't do that with this one. So as to the question, my question to Love Game was, what are you looking forward to the most in the recent upcoming Dark Souls 1 remake?
And my answer personally to that would be stuff like, I don't know how much they're going to do, if at all, with any like actual gameplay improvements. Being able to play in 60 FPS will be very nice, being able to do more precise movements, and of course the main attraction being all the graphical updates. I think will be a nice way to see everything be made over, so to speak. Nice makeover, nice, you know, maybe see the game a little more finished than it was initially. What the fuck? I took knockback with no damage. Yeah, these guys are part of why I don't like this area. Because look at them. They're so fucking goofy looking. They don't look serious or intimidating. They're like something out of a fucking Mario game or something. They don't look...
The only thing they have going for them is that they look like statues.
Yeah, and there are some statues which are actual statues. They can kind of trick you in a sense.
They were designed purely to be placeholders.
Yeah.
So even with like the whole like, oh, it's really they're just statues and not just like.
There's some of the only enemies in this area that are entirely new. As you see, we're mostly running into like previous, you know, Taurus demons and Capra demons rather than brand new enemies, and those are going to be the bulk of what we face here, unfortunately. There's not going to be a whole lot else. Now, there is a trick you kind of need to do here, but you cannot do it until you've defeated the boss. We're going to go ahead and go for the boss right now. Just because there's kind of no point to doing otherwise at the very moment. So, let's head on through. And you ask yourself, were you tired of this design before? We've already fought it twice.
The first time you fought it was the most underwhelming boss fight because first like, oh crap, you can't beat it. Then once you went around and could do it, got weapon overhead, you're like, oh, it's the easiest boss ever. It's the most like freaking misleading boss ever. Then directly under him, out of the full floor, once we return to the asylum, is the most bullshit boss ever because of the fact he has that freaking exploding face thing.
Like that.
Here, this is once again misleading because even despite the fact he's apparently the demon fire sage and he's
he
on
does
fire,
all magic damage and he is weak to fire. Yeah, very misleading if you don't know what you're doing, but as you can see, he's kind of has the exact same pattern as the other two.
Because the only difference between him and the other two is that he has a reskin, that's it.
Yeah, there's no difference in his actual fighting style or his damage output that I know of.
I guess this is like, if you want to go like lore-wise, be like fighting fire with fire or something.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't work this way.
As you can see, just complete pushover.
That's what I'm looking forward to the most in the Dark Souls remake. Honestly, I just want to see it finished.
I really do as well. Now, there's something we have to do. As you can see, I'll go ahead and show it off what we're going to be doing here.
This is the most bullshit thing in the Souls series ever. Like, you hear...
It's very cryptic. It is beyond cryptic. You were very right there.
No, this isn't even cryptic. It straight up not tells you.
Yeah, it's one of my least favorite, like, aspects of the game lore-wise, and I'll explain why when it becomes more significant.
This could either be because of the fact they couldn't have time to finish it, or they intentionally did it so that
just to make it more confusing or something like that. Well, yeah, which is a little
either just purely just to force you to...
Now this door here is locked. However, we, in all of our brilliance, do in fact have the means to, well, circumvent it, shall we say. How do we do that, you might ask? Well, we need a bonfire, so we're going to go ahead and go back to where we fought Kirk. Matter of fact, I'll just meet you back at the Altar of Chaos, since you've seen this pathway before. Now, back at Quelaag's domain, what we want to do is, unfortunately, abandon our incredibly deep and devoted allegiance to the Warriors of Sunlight, and instead enter a covenant with the Daughters of Chaos. This covenant is known as the Chaos Servant. It doesn't have a whole lot of usage outside of what we're about to do right now, but it is kind of an interesting lore tidbit, if you will. The main thing you want to do here is donate exactly 30 humanity to this spider here.
Oh, damn, you just got invisible humanities there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not like... I think this happened on PS3 as well, so it's not like necessarily just me, but... Either way, this is going to be kind of a long segment here. Normally I would cut it out, but we have a guest here, so we can kind of make a little conversation here. Just, what were you talking about earlier? You said you wanted to, like, see the game finished and all that?
Oh, yeah, because my biggest gripe with this game,
bit.
honestly, that a lot of people, like, will now shut up about. It's like, oh, this game is so awesome. But the one thing I cannot ignore about this game that just drives me crazy is, like, it's unfinished, and that always drives me insane. So with like indie games like,
And he's not making like a exaggeration there. The game really was unfinished. Like they didn't get to finish the entire game the way they wanted it to.
see, here's the thing, I would forgive that if at any point during patches or updates, or even during like the
Artorias DLC.
yeah, if they fixed that, but they didn't. They kept it unfinished. Another type of bullshit thing that reappeared in Dark Souls 3 was, you know those placeholder statue enemies? Well, apparently that was legitimately
They brought
enemies.
those back. That infuriated me because, like, I was a little more tolerant to the, like, amount of callbacks that Dark Souls 3 had than some people were. I was not at all a fan of, that. And they brought back the entire aesthetic of Demon Ruins and turned it into a maze, essentially. It's an optional area, to be fair, but it's one of the only optional areas in the entire game. For those who don't know, Dark Souls 3 is very linear for the most part. It doesn't have a lot of extra branching paths you can go on. So when you have just one area in the entire game that's... Well, not in the entire game, but in for a good chunk of the game, that's the only place that's optional. So when you finally do go there, that's all it is. It's just... the aesthetic of Demon Ruins, with the enemies of it as well, turned into like this big, very repetitive kind of maze segment, and I always hated going through there. I don't know if you did, if you remember that much about it.
I still remember that perfectly well. It's one of like, at first when I first saw the Demon's Rose, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Then I went through the actual maze, I was like, dude, fuck this shit.
Ironically, the boss there was one of your favorite ones in the entire game.
Absolutely.
I like him too, the old Demon King. Yeah, that just, I don't know. There's a lot in this game compared to like 2 and 3 that I have a hard time taking seriously, if you will. Just a lot of very goofy, kind of almost humorous looking entities, such as those demons, maybe something like Kingseeker Frampt, or the Snake Men, something like that. It looks very goofy in an otherwise very macabre, kind of serious world that Dark Souls tries to center itself around.
Remember you telling me like the other problem you had like with the bosses in general was that they were glass cannons?
Oh yeah, I think I may have mentioned that in this LP, but if I haven't, then yes. Dark Souls 1 has a lot of bosses that, while they do a lot of damage, their health and defense leave something to be desired. They can't take a hit very well. As you can see with that last boss, I was able to take him down without even getting a single hit on myself, so... They're not very tanky, whereas Dark Souls 2, and even 3, had a fair share of bosses that, while they might not do crazy damage per hit, they can take, they can take a lot of punishment, so it's more of an endurance test. And if every boss was like that, it would suck, yeah, but I don't mind it every now and then as a little change of pace.
That's honestly why I kind of like bosses in Dark Souls 2 more so, because with Dark Souls 1, it's just easy just to get like huge chunks out of the boss itself. If you want to do that in Dark Souls 2, you really have to like grind and like...
If you're at like the appropriate level, then yes, a lot of them are going to be able to tank through your hits, and you're just going to have to keep attacking and learn the patterns, whereas as soon as you learn the boss in this game once, it's pretty much like, it's easy for the rest of your attempts, if that makes any sense. You don't have to like... Whereas, like, with 2 and even 3, you can go back and, like, even if you know the pattern and all that, you can fuck up. It seems like it's easier to fuck up even on your repeat visits, if you will. Yeah, my friend John actually had, like, a different experience, because he had played... There's Chaos Storm, by the way. Yeah, we needed to donate 30 of those. Anyways, yeah, what I was saying was, like, it seems like once you've, like, learned a boss once in this game, it's, like, just not that hard to repeat him. Now, my friend John actually said that he thought 2 had, like, the highest volume of easy bosses, because he had played the, I think he played 1 and 3 before 2? I can't remember exactly. I could be totally wrong here. It's been a while since I used to follow his like backloggery and all that to see what he was playing, and I haven't followed it. Like I forgot what all he what order he had put it on there rather. So
This one criticism I will actually agree with on Dark Souls 2. I will agree it has way too many like unnecessary bosses.
it has a lot of filler bosses. I do agree there. Yes, it has a lot of bosses that are pretty much mini bosses.
And while I do like a lot of bosses, there are a couple bosses that are essentially just reskins, especially in the DLCs, where like one is a straight up just not even a remodel.
It's just
of
the
original.
Smelter Demon with like slightly different colors and like looks.
And that was the second DLC. In the third DLC, there was just like the Covetous Demon, but it was white.
That was a mini boss, to be fair, but if you remember in the second DLC, there was also like not the second, the third DLC, you fought like a tiger.
Oh yeah. Oh
And then
yeah.
later on in the same DLC, you fought 2 tigers that were the same, like, the same thing. Same model and everything. Shit. There we go. Yeah, you went and fought, like, 2 of these tigers that, like, were the same model as the first tiger, but they were black.
I could never find that boss because I just couldn't find like the place to go for that.
Oh, yeah. You don't get all that much that's special from it, so you're not missing a whole lot, but
There's not even lore for that. It's just like, oh, he has like, or like
he has like different pets that would dish out different punishments in like accordance with the king's wishes or whatever. But yeah, that'll be a fun thing to go through when we eventually get to it. I might go ahead and just do Dark Souls 2 after this, because as of right now, I don't have... I was a little bit mistaken with a certain thing to do with Halo, because I thought initially that the MCC, the Master Chief Collection, was available on PC, and it actually isn't. So I'll have to somehow get a capture set up. I mean, I'll still be doing Fire Emblem after this, so I got time, but if something happens that I absolutely can't get that set up, then yeah, I might just go ahead and do Dark Souls 2 after this, because I like that game a lot, and I've been kind of... These games are just ones that I love to constantly come back to, and I don't want it to get too boring for you guys, but it's one of those games that like just doesn't get old for me.
That's something interesting about these games, honestly, is the fact that even though it's just basically the same thing, but because the fact you can play in so many different ways and try different things.
All the different builds and everything, yeah, it's a lot of fun to experiment with.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like what a lot of people said, that besides the fact like just trying to get over like something else really hard, the other part of the challenge is like, well, what else can I do?
Yeah.
Because with most games, it's like you're stuck with one build, one type of style, and that's it.
Either that or you have those games where like there's very obviously one like best way to play the game, and like all the other setups like suck in comparison, so there's no point in going back and playing it because you already did like the best, unless you want like a challenge run or something like that. Anyways, you would never know this normally, but donating 30 humanity does indeed cause this door to be openable. Not much of a door, it's like 4 separate columns.
And for those of you wondering, no, there's nothing in the game that ever says this at all.
That's what I just said, yeah. But you'll want to slay all these little bugs down here, and one of them will
Specifically
drop
that
a
one.
sunlight maggot. Yes, he was right. That's the one you want to look for.
Do you want to spoil why or why not now, or do you want to wait till a later part?
I mean, yeah, you can go ahead and explain it to him while I kill these things.
Okay, the reason why, because if you don't, you will meet Solaire later later at this level in a different part where after you fight the boss, where he starts losing his mind for not fighting the sun for so long. And then apparently after you go around this area, and you're supposed to come from a different way, if you come down this area, you'll find Solaire who found the sunlight bug who think it's his son and will go mad and try and kill you.
And you have to kill him, you have no choice at that point, yeah. Now here is actually a nice little shortcut you can use to get to a major boss. There's a Titanite demon down there, as you can see, Lost Izalith. Hey, thank you, you gave me a little Kindle. But right now you want to go kind of the normal intended way, because They want to get Solaire, as he was just talking about. Yeah, that's... Again, that's why I don't care. I kind of disagree with the popular opinion that this game has the better NPCs of the bunch. Because a lot of the almost all of the NPC quest lines in this entire game end the exact same way. You talk to them a bit, you sort of get to know them in a way, and eventually they leave somewhere, you find them later, they're hollow, you kill them, and it would be more impactful if it didn't happen like 6 times with a whole bunch of different characters.
It goes down to how you
loses.
interpret the story for a lot of people. Like, for example, there's this one guy who does, like, the series on, like, YouTube about, like, stories and video games or something, and basically he went on to say that, that the whole, like, message of the story in Dark Souls 1 is don't give up, despite the fact that everyone you help essentially just dies either one, so it's like...
Yeah.
Again, it's how you view it, so...
It is, definitely. I feel like it's a little bit repetitive, whereas, with 2, you end up having, like, a lot of different type of outcomes for the characters. Like, you do have some that, do eventually succumb to their fate. You have some, like Lucatiel, who you can save. Or you have ones like Benhart, who, just kind of they just keep going on with their adventure because... they're so fucking strong that they only came to Drangleic for seeking a greater challenge, which is kind of a noble outlook in a way. You don't have too many characters like that in any of these games, just someone who was so bored with what they were doing that they just kind of, you know...
That's the one thing I'll give Dark Souls 2 over, honestly, Dark Souls 1. They could just, like, oh, we'll just bring back, like, old characters and stuff, and... They tried with the Dark Souls 3 and I kind of saw that coming. I'm not entirely too mad despite the fact they just constantly did it for characters over and over again. It came to a point like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous, honestly. How is Andre still there?
And then they had, like, the Firekeeper lady from Dark Souls 2 as, like, the merchant for some reason, right next to him. Yeah. And yeah, I guess I can understand it more for the Firekeeper because those are stated to be, like, either immortal or able to live some ridiculous amount of time.
It's Dark Souls lore. It's not meant to make sense. And people just...
It's almost like Metal Gear Solid, yeah.
Nah, because here's the thing, at least with Metal Gear Solid, the fact is, it's just like, because a lot of people who were young played and they just didn't understand the story at all. And when I played recently, I agree, like, with later Metal Gear Solid games, oh, absolutely, the story is freaking insane. It's ridiculous. But, like, the first, like, Metal Gear Solid, honestly, if you can follow the...
The first one plays out kind of like a James Bond film, which, yeah, I was kind of getting behind that, and I don't dislike the other ones, but yeah, that is kind of true that they go a little off the deep end.
2, well, I love the game purely for its gameplay. The story is just ridiculous.
Yeah, see, I'm, again, of another very unpopular opinion that 2 is actually my favorite Metal Gear Solid, because it kind of has that Bioshock-level mindfuck thing going on, and that, and I actually did enjoy Raiden, unlike a lot of people who didn't care for him as much. Although, I'm kind of with this guy over here, I liked him a lot better in Rising.
Yeah.
You liked what they did with this character in that game.
Because with, like, in Metal Gear Solid 2, they try and play him as the rookie when I kind of try to get what they were trying to do, but the fact is, because of the way they presented him, especially after the first, like, essentially prologue mission you did with Snake, it was a little like,
I know, I didn't rest.
Basically, a lot of people did feel like cheating, so honestly, it felt like he could have made a stronger impact if, like, Konami tried to present him in a different way than what they did with the game.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Also, after playing Metal Gear Solid 1, where Snake was already professional from the very beginning of the game, it just felt like kind of like really we're playing like a rookie guy who's not into like who like whines about, dude, I just saw a bunch of people killed. That's ridiculous. So it's kind of like going from.
Well,
like,
he technically was not a rookie because he was a child soldier. He was a rookie in that particular field, but he had done combat. It's just like they didn't reveal that because that was supposed to be the big twist or whatever.
Yeah, but in like after the cutscene where like bunch of like the soldiers get wasted by like that psychic ladies or something.
I forgot what her name. Fortune. Yeah.
Yeah, Fortune. Basically, there was like a whole dialogue thing. It was like Colonel, I can't do this. I just saw a bunch of men die. This is bullshit.
Yeah, he kind of goes on this tangent. Yeah.
Here's the thing, when like Slank saw that same guy, was like, dude, there's psychic guys. What do I do? Do this. Got it.
Speaking of cutscenes, we have one right here. There we go. Kind of a disgusting cutscene as far as Dark Souls goes.
I kind of like the design. I just kind of wish the boss fight was more optimized.
Yeah. If you haven't fought this before, well, get ready for a boss fight with the camera, because that is our true boss right now. Oh boy.
This boss fight reminds me a bit of like a Demon Souls boss.
Oh, it does. I mean, it is a demon, so it kind of elicit that response. You're right. It has kind of some uninteresting lore, though. The only lore behind it is whenever they dropped the, whenever the Sisters of Chaos accidentally dropped their ring into the lava, this thing just appeared. That's the whole lore for it.
Seriously?
That's it.
That's the, you know what gave that lore? What, their ring?
I think it's the ring, yeah. Damn, that's a lot of stamina damage. Alright. What we have to do is lure this thing onto ground here, because as you can see, it is in lava right now, and therefore...
Lava. The
Oh,
problem is...
shit, that has never done that much to me before. Okay, I'm gonna get away from that. I can. I'm just a little... I'm mid-rolling right now. Yeah, we have to lure it close, essentially. That's our only means of action right now. I often dread fighting this thing because it doesn't have a ton of crazy HP or anything like that, but...
It's not particularly a hard boss to fight, it's just...
It's a little, the camera sucks, and it's kind of a war of attrition at some points, so you have to really... Yeah, see, it can grab you, but funny enough, the grab doesn't do crazy damage, as you can see. It does not really do that much at all.
Instant kill you.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the weaker attacks it has, as a matter of fact. I'll get a few hits on it right there. I know I shouldn't be locking on, but I do want to keep track of these legs here, so if I can... Yeah. Not too bad.
Actually, what would you say about, like, its grab hitbox compared to...
I think it's one of the more fair ones. It's a little weird how, like, because his arm is stretchy. To be fair, he has a stretchy arm, so it kind of, I understand why he has a longer reach than some,
I kind of agree with you, it's more fair, but it's still kind of bullshit. Cause
yeah, like I said, in this game, the grab hitboxes are arguably just as bad as the, regular hitboxes of Dark Souls 2, which a lot of people complain about.
We were just playing Monster Hunter World of All.
Yeah, he was.
Some of the hitboxes in that game is from like
shit.
from early Monster Hunter games were just bullshit. And I just made me wonder, like, if like people in charge of designing hitboxes for these games actually hire people like from other companies.
Yeah.
It's in the circulation.
It does make you wonder sometimes. Oh shit, I ran into the fucking lava. Oh, fuck me.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Sometimes you can kind of quake the ground a bit, as you can see with those jumps, and it will knock you back a little, so you gotta like, keep your footing, so to speak.
This is actually the most intense centipede demon fight I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it'll quake you. He's using Earthquake. And I'm not a grass type, yeah. But as you can see, like I always say, not so bad.
That was actually a good fight.
Oh yeah, it was pretty fun actually. I didn't mind that. We get the orange charred ring here, which honestly we could have used in that fight. Because as you can see, equipping it, I will have to take off the Havel's ring for a moment here, so excuse me. To be what do you call it, exposing myself on YouTube. I hope I don't get banned for this video, because I'm not taking this off.
I'll find out if that's freaking stupid that you can get banned on YouTube just because you get naked in a video game.
Well, someone actually got banned for showing their feet. But as you can see, you can't get hurt too bad by the lava. But don't think it makes you totally safe, because this will, in fact, degrade your equipment very fast. So don't spend too much time on the lava if you can ever help it.
Wait, so does it not affect your helmet?
It probably does. I was just taking off a couple of things so I wouldn't slow roll.
Alright.
Obviously, if I can get past it quick enough, I'll just, repair it. here we have our good buddy Solaire.
By the way, you're probably asking, why is he here? How is he here? That's a very good question.
Normally, well, I didn't do it myself, but you can summon him for that fight. So if you're having trouble, you can grab him and bring him in.
After all this searching, I still cannot find it.
I like Solaire, but I just never understood like this whole like arc of his character. Where why is he going insane just because he can't find his son? So I don't know, like a lot, like the guy I mentioned, like who like gave his like interpretation of like the purpose of the story of Dark Souls, like it's supposed to be like hopeful, like don't give up. Here's the thing though, one of the most hopeful, like happy-go-lucky characters, like what, like not exactly happy-go-lucky, but like one of the happiest characters in like the entire series, and he basically gets depressed because he can't find what he's looking for.
Yeah. I think that was kind of what they were going for, was just like to have a initially very jovial and very optimistic character be kind of taken down by the realization that, you know, maybe my goal is unrealistic, but he couldn't accept that, so he kind of
sort of like
descended.
He's sort of like the equivalent of Ostrava, but Ostrava's not as jovial. He's more naive, if anything, and he's technically incompetent, but he's more like he's like the noob you try and look after because, you know, he's the noob, but...
Yeah, exactly. I need the flashback.
And one of the worst parts in that story, in Strava's story, in Demon's Souls, is like the...
Ostrava is more... Yeah, he's kind of a combination of, like, Solaire and Sigmire. Because he's, I mean, spoilers, you hadn't played Demon's Souls, but he's looking for his father, who is actually the king, who has given his soul to... He's quite literally sold his soul to the devil, in terms of, the game. So, he ends up committing suicide out of,
after
shame.
discovering the whole truth.
Yep. And you have to, he invades you right after that, and you have to fight him, so it's kind of sad, because... Basically, what happens in that game is you keep on saving his ass over and over again.
The
like,
worst part,
for
honestly,
worse.
is in 1-3.
We're like 4 of those red-eyed knights, which are pretty much like black knights.
And here's the thing, if he
come
dies, you don't complete his story.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's one of the most easiest, most bullshit ways his story can fucking end. And worst part, because the fact he reloads every time you go into 1-3, he always has the chance of dying because it always patrols the area. So at least...
Yeah, even if you think you've saved him, you can end up fucking it up.
Because at least in like 1-1, 1-2, he can at least fend for himself at least. If you don't like stick around, if he doesn't like at low health, he can still like take care of himself at least.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go into any areas so it's like he could just like get gang raped. But 1-3, god damn, there's a high probably chance that he can.
Yeah, because even if you save him, you can end up coming back to do the mission later on or do the boss, and he'll get like killed if you're not careful. But here's Solaire one last time.
Was it all a lie? Have I done it all for nothing? Oh, my dear son.
I'm just curious, is this the like last dialogue you have with him, or?
It is.
My son.
This is if you save him, yeah.
That just makes the story even worse, honestly, because you do actually get to see him one more time. But I'll just let Lev Game spoil that for you all when he gets to it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say what happens.
Alright.
Essentially, what happens is you can summon him for the final boss if you have done all this, but you have to talk to him here too. But yes, he will survive the entire story if you do the cryptic series of events there that involved opening that door and all that. He will indeed survive.
Chaos bugs, honestly. I just kind of wish they're like the idea or like the design was implemented more.
Indeed. But yeah, that's pretty much how you do that, and yeah, you'll be able to... He's the only summon you can get for the final boss, so if you do want one, that's what you're going to have to do, just for gameplay purposes, but... just kind of like a Souls tradition that the final boss usually isn't all that hard, but... He can catch you off guard.
If you're unprepared for it, he will kick your ass.
He can, yeah. But for now... Since we have Lost Izalith in full coming up, I'm going to call this apart for right now, and I will see you guys next time for perhaps one of, if not the worst boss in the entire game. because that'll be a lot of fun, and you guys do want to see me suffer, and we didn't do a lot of suffering this part, so we'll have to make up for that in spades when we take on the boss of Lost Izalith next time on Let's Play Dark Souls. And I have been Love Game,
Oh yeah, this is the genius at work.
and I wish you guys farewell.